Hi, I'm Justin from the Flutter team, and in this video, we're going to talk about stateful widgets. According to the Flutter documentation, a widget is an immutable description of part of a user interface. That means a widget doesn't actually do anything, it's just a description, and it never changes. And there's also that saying that you heard earlier, everything is a widget. By the transitive property, all parts of your app are objects that don't do anything and never change? But wait, I've seen an app before and it both does stuff and changes. So what's going on? A widget isn't a piece of UI itself, but a single-use recipe that tells Flutter how to paint pixels to the screen for the current frame. In the next frame, if there's a different recipe, Flutter paints that to the screen instead. Widgets are never changed, they're replaced. So the question isn't how do I change my widgets, but how do I tell Flutter there's a new recipe? You use something that is both an immutable widget and not an immutable widget, the stateful widget. Unlike its stateless sibling, a stateful widget is actually made of two separate classes. The stateful widget class itself, which, like a stateless widget, is a cheap, disposable, and immutable object in the widget tree, but it defers its build method and all other functionality to a state object, which is mutable and reusable and long-lived. The purpose of this state object is twofold: to initialize and manage this nebulous thing called state, which is just any data that can change over time, and to tell Flutter when the state has changed. The state object exposes a handful of methods to help manage state, the most important of which, while you're learning Flutter, are initState, setState, dispose, and our old friend build. InitState is called by the framework exactly once when the state object is created and is used to initialize other objects your widget needs to render, like animation and text controllers, especially when they rely on data that's passed into the stateful widget. For example, imagine a custom checkbox widget. Let's say the initial state is false, which means the box is not checked. In the state object, you use initState to initialize the state with the value passed into the myCheckbox widget, rather than using the constructor because the state object hasn't been attached to the widget yet. To toggle the checkbox when it's tapped, you'll need to toggle the isChecked variable. And the crux of this video, you need to tell Flutter to rebuild this UI and show the checkbox filled in. For that, call setState. This tells the framework to call the build method and then re-render the checkbox with its new configuration. If you just change the variable without calling setState, nothing will happen visually because Flutter won't know that it needs to rebuild. Finally, dispose is called whenever a state object is permanently removed from the widget tree. This is where you clean up processes that you started in the widget, such as stopping animation controllers. Understanding stateful widgets is crucial for building interactive Flutter apps, especially when things are changing in your UI. For example, it's time for me to call setState and set end of video to true. Is that how videos work? I only know software engineering. Remember, widgets are immutable descriptions, but state objects allow you to manage data that changes over time. Use setState to tell Flutter when something has changed and needs to be rebuilt.